Okay, welcome to Casson Academy. My name is Brian Casson, and in this session we're going to talk about landing page optimization. So let's get into it. We're going to see exactly what you have to do with your landing page to give the users a good experience so that it increases your quality score and your ads actually are a lot cheaper in the end. So we're going to jump right into it. So why do we actually optimize a landing page? If you have ads that are running to a particular page, you want to make sure that the keywords that you're using on that page match the keywords that you're landing on. This creates a good user experience for everyone, and Google rewards you with that user experience by giving you a higher quality score on that particular keyword. So if you say AdWords services here as an example, when I go through to the page itself, I want to make sure AdWords services is actually in the page. So if I do a find and I search for the word services, you can see with the highlights there's actually quite a lot. It also counts the ones in the footer, in the form, throughout the page. There's quite a lot of instances of services. So if this particular AdWords services keyword was to land on this page, it would be a good experience, and Google would reward you with a higher quality score on the landing page option. So you want to always make sure that you don't target keywords that aren't on your page. So if I try to do AdWords Management, you can see there's one at the bottom, but one is really not enough for it to say that this is a high quality keyword, because it doesn't actually exist, the word management, on any of the other descriptions or parts of the page. So we try to make sure that our ads target exactly what is on the page, and if it doesn't, then we want to try and add those instances to the page. So there's a whole bunch of things that we have to keep track of here. We want to make sure that the user is happy, A. We want to make sure that the ad bots are happy, and we want to make sure that the ranking bot is happy. Sometimes we try to optimize for the ad bot and we forget about the ranking bot, where at the ranking side it's over optimized for ranking. So we have to balance all of these together. So let's start with the user. The user has to have a fast website or a fairly fast website and a good experience. Obviously, if they get to your website and it's too slow, there's a good chance that they're going to leave. So in order to check speed, you want to be on the landing page that you are targeting. You're going to right click anywhere on the page. As long as you're in Chrome, there's going to be a word inspect. It shows you what your website looks as a mobile device. You can just reset it if you want, refresh. There we go. So there's our mobile experience. You can see everything's lined up. So from a user point of view, not too bad. You want to make sure that there's nothing overlapping, nothing in the wrong place. Everything looks easy to read as you go through for the user, and that the buttons are far enough apart to be able to click on. So in order to measure the speed, we're going to go to this part here next to network. There's some arrows, and we're going to go down to the one that says audits. A program called Lighthouse comes up, and we're going to run an audit through Lighthouse. It's then going to check your site, how mobile friendly it is, how fast it is, how well spaced it is. It's going to check the JavaScript. It's going to check the caching. That's why it says no internet now. And if it shows you what it looks like after it's cached or a new look. Okay, and you can see here we have some pretty good SEO based stuff, but on the performance side, this site is very, very slow. So we want to try and improve the performance of it, because this is the part that counts towards page speed, which is a good landing page experience. So you're going to see that the very first thing here is called meaningful paint. This is the most important factor, and this is the factor that we want to try get this number under 3 or less seconds. There are plugins that you can add to the page in order for it to be much faster, and I want to actually give you an example of something that is very fast, what it looks like when it loads fast. We can go to Swim University, one of the fastest loading pages on the internet. We're going to do the same thing. Network, audits, run. Now you can see here 99, 93, 96, they have a 1.3 meaningful paint. And this is the part that's used to determine the quality of the page. It doesn't have to be 1.3. 1.3 is insanely fast, so very well done to Swim University here. But you do want to try and keep it under 3 seconds because that does help your ads. It helps the user to not leave your ads at that particular time. So on our own site here, we wouldn't target this page because we don't have a good score on the optimization here, and we'd have to take it to our developers to try and increase this in speed of this page before we would actually send any ads to that particular page. So there's also something, if you go further down, you can see it's time to interactive. You get all these little thumbnails which shows you what the user's seeing per second. So if you take our site an example, you got 1, 2, 3 seconds where they actually just see a white page, which is not a good user experience. Then the content starts to load and then eventually the page loads. If it takes too long to load, there's a good chance that you lost them in step 1, 2, or 3. If they're getting content right away that's meaningful, then that's a good experience for them, and the overall experience there is good. So the user, you want to make sure that that page that you're landing on or targeting is fast. That's a good step for the user. Second step is you want to make sure that it is mobile friendly. You can see here in the preview, everything's easy to get to. Okay, same with ours. We do have a mobile friendly site. Easy to get through. The form's in the right place. Obviously, if you've got broken stuff or if your form doesn't work or anything like that, then that's a bad mobile friendly experience and you want to improve that. The next thing you want to make sure is it easy to understand from a user point of view. So as you land, do you know what it's about? So if that's the very first thing that I see, can the user understand the service that I'm offering before even scrolling? Can they understand what's going on this page? What is the service that's been offered? Without too much up and down, too much scrolling, too much looking around. Another thing that's very important for the user is that they can contact you and you have some sort of call to action. So you want to make sure that when you land on the page, you either have a form that they can fill in. You could have multiple forms, so as they read and go down, you might have a secondary form again. You want to make sure you've got telephone numbers, other ways to communicate, WhatsApp, email, addresses, so they generally know what you're about and how quickly they can, as soon as they know what you're about, they will contact you. They'll say, okay, great, I do want this service, and then they'll be able to get to those certain contact points within the page. So user has to be able to do that. Obviously, if it's an online shop, you want to be able to get those products up front and center so that they can add them to a cart and you can purchase them right off the bat. The other thing that you have to do for a user point of view is you need to build trust. Something on that website needs to say that you're not a fly-by-night. You're not something that's here and might steal the money or not offer the service. So as you go through the page, you want to have anything that can build trust. So in our industry, a Google Partner Badge says that Google trusts you, you're a premier partner, you're making Google money, you've been in the industry a while. On other sites like banking sites, it might say that this is NCR or credited by whoever. Those accreditations are really important that they're somewhere on that site so that you can you can basically convince the person that you're not somebody that's going to run away with their money or their services. Okay. So trust builders. The next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure from a user point of view that it's easy to navigate, easy to get around. Oh, this went into the back end. That's not what I want to do on mobile. So I'm just going to close this window here, go back to the front. Is it easy to get around through your menu to the different parts of your site? So if they came in for one service, if there's related services, get them through to those related services. Is it easy to see on the page exactly all the services that you offer? Some people like to have a services tab and then with a drop down which tells you what services they are. But in most cases with our clients, we like to put all the services into the menu because then it's much easier for them to understand. So the last user experience one that we're going to say is, can they navigate? Navigation is very important for the user. Some people like to navigate from the bottom links as well. So it's always good to have links at the top as well as the bottom. The last one that I want to mention is your page the norm? Google ranks on norm, being normal, being like everyone else. So within your industry, if your site is similar to other people within your industry, there's a good indication that you're gonna, there's a good idea that Google can get that you're the same as others. You're not trying to rank just for the heck of ranking. So what I mean by that is, if the norm is to have your logo as part of the menu, because most sites on the internet put the logo on the left, then maybe you should put the logo on the left. If most websites have a small logo, or maybe your logo should be small and not taking up 90% of the page. So you can go to sites like this or the top 20 sites and you can see what the norm is. The norm in most cases is to put the contact on the right hand side. So when I go to the site, you can see the contact us is on the right. Most websites, the user is going to go right and he's going to look right because that's what most people do. So don't be creative and put your contact us on the left hand side because that's not the norm and you might lose that particular user. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Keep your call to action. The home is usually always on the left, keep it to the left. Contact is usually on the right, about us is usually next to home, and so on and so on. Most call to actions or prominent call to actions are top right, far top right. So here you can see we're trying to push the academy in our page, so we put it top right. Okay, so you want to be, I know it's a strange thing, but you want to be normal. Okay, so that's the user. You're keeping the user happy. They able to navigate on the page. They have a good experience. That causes them to stay on your page, and that time on site is actually a good indicator for quality. So you want to make sure that they're interacting or they're staying on your site. If they don't like your site, they're going to bounce, they're going to go out, and that's not really a good indicator for your ads. So the next thing that we're going to move on to is the ad bot. What do we need to do to keep the ad bot happy? Like we mentioned before, the most important thing is relevance. The keyword that you're targeting, does that keyword exist on the landing page? Relevance. Google loves to see relevance. It's going to look for relevance in a lot of pages. Does the keyword exist in this section here, which is called a H1 tag? If I inspect it on the page, you can see it's got a little H and a 1 next to it. H1s are the primary indicators on the page to tell Google what this page is about. Then as you go down, is it mentioned in H2s? Yep, we've got ads mentioned there as well. As you go down, do you offer it in different places throughout the website? Is it mentioned in the footer? Which means that it's mentioned on every single page of your site because the footer goes across all pages. If you can tick all of those boxes, then you should be able to tick the relevance box and say it's relevant. It may even go as far as figuring out, are the questions that you ask the same as or related to the keyword that you are targeting? Are they related? And that can lead to a good quality score for your ads. So the ad bot looks for relevance. It looks for density, how many instances of a word there are. And because it's an ad bot, it's got to, mandatory, follow policy. Have you broken any policies on that particular page? One of the policies, make sure there's no hidden text or anything that Google can see but nobody else can see on this particular page. When you go all the way down to the bottom, make sure that you can't see it in the screen here, but have a terms and conditions and have a privacy policy all the way at the bottom of the page. You want a privacy policy because you want to tell them that you're taking information through cookies. And Google, that's one of Google's terms and conditions, is that if you lead ads to this page, you want to make sure you tell the user that you are taking or using cookies for that particular page. Of course, you don't want a keyword spam, so if every second word was AdWords services on that page, that would be a policy violation. You're trying to circumvent the system, and you gave too many instances of something. So don't over-optimize. Don't try to force it in there and have too many instances of it on the page. Google AdBot loves it when you are targeted. In other words, if you go to the landing page and it has a section that says AdWords Consulting here, you see there, rather go to that page and have a campaign go to that. Don't bring AdWords Consulting keywords here because you want to target to the pages that exist. So here I would actually go to the SEO or the AdWords Consulting, AdWords Training, let's try that one. Google AdWords Training, so if that was my keyword, I would come here. I would not go to the parent page because you have a whole page dedicated to it on that side. Okay, so always make sure you keep it relevant. Make sure you have enough keyword density on the page, that is targeted for those ads, that you followed policy. And just like the user, the same applies here for the ad bot. Make sure your speed of that page or the loading experience of that page is good. Also make sure that there are no errors on the page. And that includes obviously a 404. So if that page doesn't exist, then that would be bad if your ads come through to a page that's broken or doesn't exist. Then the last one that we have to take care of from a landing page point of view is to make sure that we're still ranking at the end of the day. So when you go through to a page, make sure that this H1 on your page is descriptive. Don't change it for the ads and say Google Ads Services if it's going to exclude it from your ranking. In other words, you get worse ranking out of it. So here I would keep this, make sure that it's an H1, make sure you've got multiple headings throughout your page, multiple descriptions throughout your page. Try and keep everything in little boxes or segments. When it comes to ranking, Google ranks you in not what's on the entire page, but what's on each section. So as an example, this would be a section, it would rank you under this section. This would be a section here, which is what is AdWords, the snippet, featured snippet. It will rank you under that. Rank you under benefits, rank you under all your other services and so on. So try and keep everything modular on your page and provide that information to Google. So from a ranking point of view, got to look at your H1s, make sure they contain your keywords, as well as the H2s, H3s, and H4s within that page. So all your headings. Also, you have title at the top. So when I hover over here, it says Google Ads. See there? If that's the case, you want to make sure your keywords are also contained in the title. It's actually one of the most important ranking factors, making sure the keywords that you want to rank for are in the title, again in the H1, again in the content of the page. Now, obviously, we can't go and say AdWords Services, AdWords Services, AdWords Services over and over again. So we use a tool called Uber Suggest to give us some ideas of what else we could mention on that particular page. So if I was to type in AdWords Services into Google Suggest, I can even default it to South Africa and then click search. it will give me some ideas of what sort of related keywords I could be using. It also tells you how many searches per month those keywords are getting. So instead of saying Google AdWords services all the time, I could talk about selling AdWords on that page. I could talk about Google Ads financial services. Well, don't force it. Obviously, we don't do the finances for Google, so we would leave that one. Management services. It's trying to get you to put a variation in here. Management services, and so on and so on. Then it's also going to show you what the competition has done with their titles on their pages, and you can get some ideas from that as well. If you sign in, it will allow you to see a lot more than the 10 here. It will show you the related keywords to AdWords services, Google AdWords services, just different ways to say it. And it will also show you what people are asking when it comes to questions. AdWords, how to change services. If there's something in here that you can answer, then you can put that sort of content on your page as well, and you have a good chance of your entire page ranking better because you covered the questions, you covered the related topics, and you covered that primary topic. So it's quite a nice tool to use. It even tells you how difficult it is to rank under that particular word for being low, 100 being high. So it's telling you under this question here, you have a very good chance of ranking if you were to write something like that. Okay, so that's Uber Suggest by Neil Patel. Nice tool to be using when researching keywords. Okay, so from a ranking point of view, we also want to make sure our title is correct. Don't get title confused with heading. Heading is on the page. Title is actually something that's hidden in the code. You can see there's no title here on the page, but if I go view source and I search the word title, there's actually quite a lot of them here, but let's go to the one that's the highest up. This right here shows you what you're telling Google your page is about. You have 56 to 70 characters for your title that you make. So you want to try and keep it 56 or as much as 70 characters. A lot of room to explain what that page is about. Generally, we would separate our topics within the title with a pipe, but you can also use a dash to separate the topics of that particular page. You want to make sure the very first one is your primary, what you want to really rank under the most. The second one, your secondary, and then anything else. What I usually do with the third part is I try to bring a location into the third part for ranking. Because a lot of people, when it comes to service-based stuff, they like to find stuff that's next to you. If I don't say Johannesburg on there, then there's a good chance that Johannesburg's not going to match. Now I can make sure that I can say Google Ads Management or Services Johannesburg, because Johannesburg's in my title, and then I just have to make sure Johannesburg is also in the page somewhere on the content, and that helps you with the ranking part. So that's basically it when it comes to landing pages, what you can change. It's okay to be image heavy on a page, but try to optimize for speed first and find a balance between speed and design. You don't have to be the fastest website in the world, but you also want the user to kind of like your site. You don't want to be so boring that it loads like lightning, but you want to make sure that it sort of looks nice at the same time. It's easy to understand. Everything's well spaced on that site. You're paying money to Google to get them to this page. Google gets them to this page. Now, in order to increase conversions, you need to make sure that you've looked after the page, that you're constantly updating it, that it doesn't have any spelling mistakes or errors or anything like that on that landing page. Then you can go ahead eventually, fix the page first, then create the ads, not the other way around. So now you go to ads, you create the ads, and you send them to your landing page. Always get your landing page working first. So once you create those keywords and you add them to your ads campaign, your page is ready. You've done the speed, you've done the layout, you've done the structure, everything's done on the page. You've got your trust elements on that page. You've done your policy with your privacy policy. Everything's on that page. Now that page is ready to go. you're more likely to convert now because there's no bad experiences for either of the three. Well, I can't call them people because these two aren't people, but the three instances that might be coming to your site. Okay. So that's it for landing page. Does anybody on the floor have any questions? Is there a Uber Suggest plugin for WordPress is the question. I actually don't know. So the easiest way to tell is to go look quickly. Let's go take a look if there's a Uber Suggest plugin for WordPress. So I'm going to go into the back end. I'm going to find those plugins. Try add a new one. Yes, at the moment I just go to his site. Yeah, but you might actually, there might be one, so let's just take a look. Nope, doesn't look like there is one. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so no other questions from the floor. That ends our session on landing page optimization. And I will provide this table of elements, or whatever you want to call it, tree, in the description of the course so that you can go back and refer to it. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll catch you next time.